Well, the Central Region Police Command says it was willing to work closely with Joy News to deal with the matters that have been raised in that story. DSP Arinopon speaks for the Central Region Police.
Cases are being reported, and again, as police officers, we move with information. We will be liaising with Maxwell to get some of the information that he just shared on air so that we can strategize and also get more information from where he went. Again, what we are saying is that we know that when you get to Budumbram and its environs, a lot of vehicular patrols from the divisional headquarters is going on. And again, as he had the access to this information, we always say that police is a shared responsibility. And as a stakeholder, being a journalist, we will contact him and add up to what we have to strategize to also combat crime. When crimes happen, they have to report. Because at the end of the month or week, we assess the nature of crimes that have been reported, those that we have gathered through our intelligence, and then we strategize against the next week. So through community engagement, they will get to understand why they should be sharing information with the police so that we can also do our work well. It will surprise you that those who have experienced crime have not gone to the police station to report.
So the police's position is that people are not reporting some of these crimes, which is then feeding their data, which doesn't correlate the information on the ground. Meanwhile, a study conducted on the security situation in Kasoa has revealed that the swelling population in the area is gradually, or could be gradually, overwhelming the police. I'm getting on Zoom right now to speak with a retired police officer and member of parliament for Wa West, Peter Lanchene Tobu. Mr. Tobu, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Good afternoon. Mr. Tobu, are you there?
Yeah, hello, Gipsy, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I do hear you. Thank you very much for your time.
Great.
I do have also security analyst Adib Sani, who is also joining us via Zoom. Adib, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My pleasure always.
So let me start by taking your thoughts. I mean, for a whole week, we've highlighted, we dug into the background of the suspects in the case of the 10-year-old boy who was murdered. And we highlighted the situation. We tried to move on from there to understand the causes of the complaints of insecurity that we've heard in Kasoa. I don't know how well both of you have followed the story, but let me take your thoughts on the concerns that we have raised. First of all, the fact that there's a lot of land guard issues going on there, and that organizations or individuals that employ the young people to guard their lands, who give them arms, end up having these young people. They don't ask them to, but these young people end up using those arms in the night. So land guard by day, armed robber or something else by night. There's also the issue of the urbanization that's at a very fast pace in the area. These are some of the issues that we highlighted. I am confident that you follow, so let me leave it there and take your thoughts so far. May I start with you, Mr. Tobu?
The issue in Kasoa is not a surprise to all of us who have been in this country over the years, at least for the past 20 years. Land guardism has been a character trait of Kasoa for years, and land guardism goes with violence. So gradually, the land is not there for them to even sell and die. So many of them have gotten into violent crime because what they did in the past was virtually to visit violence on people and take away their land. Land guardism is people who are armed and guarding land, and with time, if they don't have any work to do, they would descend into violent crime. I've always said that if we want to treat Kasoa with the spectacle that it desires, we should be thinking about some local demobilization, some local disarmament, and some local reintegration. Kasoa is a fast-growing area, and many of the young people who are there in the past had a job to do in land guardism. And today, because land guardism is no longer so profitable, they find a way to survive at getting involved in all these violent crimes that we see. I think that Kasoa can stand as a very good example. In fact, it's a perfect sample of Ghana. In Kasoa, everything that you can think of in Ghana is there. You talk about trade, you talk about business, you talk about market, talk about land, talk about everything in Ghana. So if you take the whole of Kasoa as a research sample, the results that will come, you can actually transpose that into the whole of Ghana. You can make a lot of impact. In conclusion, let me just say, as a first bite, the Kasoa issue over the years, I remember even with the Ghana Police Service, we've had some level of knee-jerk reactions over the years. In 1996, there was what we call the scatter, which transfer everybody from commander to the last person in the rank.
Mr. Tobu, what was the word again? You said you had what you call what?
Scatter.
Can you spell that? I can't hear that clearly.
Scatter, how to just scatter everybody in the system.
Oh, to scatter.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there was this scatter starting from the IGP Peter Namfuri, now Ansule Ghana, the second Jaffa traditional area. And this scatter has been the practice of the police over the years. Gradually, we are getting to realize that the more we scatter, the more we transfer all the people in Kasoa and replace them, the result is that it is not a solution. So gradually, we are beginning to realize that if we want a solution of Kasoa insecurity, let's look into scientific-based approach. The scientific-based approach I have recommended is to conduct real research into the Kasoa and its environs. What is it that is the problem? If we're able to define that problem, we can propose solutions. Or else, this ad hoc approach that we've done over the years and it's not giving the desired result, it's quite challenging as an institution.
Okay, that's a very interesting part you brought in very quickly, which I want us to deal with, finding the solutions. But let me take Adib Sani's assessment so far as well, and then we can get into looking at some of the problems that have been highlighted and how we can deal with them. Adib.
Okay, is it okay?
Yes.
All right, so I couldn't have agreed more with Honorable Peter. Kasoa's situation is much more complex than some of us think. There are two major issues at stake. The first one is human security in nature, and the second one is fiscal security in nature. The thing is, Kasoa has grown over the years. From the records I have been privy to and have perused, in 1984, for instance, the population of Kasoa was about 2,500. And in 2010, it became, I think, 67,000. So you can imagine today how many people will live in that area, considering how bustling it has become. In the past, when you were moving from Accra to Kasoa, it was like we're traveling out of town. But today, on your way, you don't see bare and occupied land. It is all occupied. It is all busy, right from Kaneshu all the way to Kudupuram Camp and beyond. And you wouldn't even find lands to buy today. That is why land issue has become quite worrying. And all of it is hinged on the issue of human security, like I indicated. The people having access to basic necessities of life. And there's a direct correlation between lack of jobs, lack of money, lack of shelter, the abuse of the rights of the people, and physical security. Because the thing is, a lot of the youth in the area come from all around the country, and most of them lack certain opportunities from the hinterlands. So when Kofi or Seydi comes to Accra or Kasoa, and the next minute he's back in the village with a Toyota Camry, I also expect that when I come to Kasoa, within a year, I should drive a Toyota Camry. So when they get to Kasoa and their expectations are not well met, they become disenchanted, they become frustrated, and the next minute you see them joining land guards or even joining vigilante groups. So some of them go into crime as a means of survival, whilst we have others going into the crime as a means of luxury. And on the other hand, we can talk about, and I'm particularly excited, the police officer you spoke with talked about the fact that people don't report to the police. They should ask themselves why people don't report to the police, because people are losing confidence in the police on a daily basis. And I speak as a victim myself. Some time ago, when there was a break-in at an address we stayed in for the weekend, I reported to the police, and apparently they knew the address. To date, no police officer has come. So you think the next time I'm a victim of crime, I would go to the police? No. So invariably, you would have people in a quest to defend themselves rather end up taking the laws into their own hands. And that is the problem. So this should be an introspection sort of to the police. They should ask themselves, why are the people not reporting cases to us?
Okay. Mr. Tobu, let's come to the point that you made so eloquently. You have been a police officer before. You understand the ins and outs of the service. You said that in 1996 we tried to deal with this situation, and you describe it as a knee-jerk reaction. Assuming you were posted to head the police division in Kasoa, what are the immediate steps you will take beyond conducting this scientific research that you talk about?
Let me say hello to the regional commander. She's one of the finest in the system. And I think if you go to the United Nations, for instance, where she's worked and just returned home, she's made a mark. But in Ghana, sometimes the system challenges even the best, and you become a bit confused. If people are beginning to fail to report to the police, as my colleagues have indicated, it is an indication that people are gradually losing confidence in the police. And if people fail to provide information for the police, to the point that they are even attacked and they are not willing to go to the police to go and report, it's a very dangerous time for police survival. Well, if I'm posted to the Kasoa area as a commander, I think that everybody knows the problem. What the problem is not an issue. Everybody knows what. Kasoa is violent, Kasoa is filled with crime, it's about, robbery here and there. Everybody knows what is happening. How do we handle this issue? In the past, the police administration has looked at the police angle. Many people complain about police inefficiencies and police incompetence, and we always try as much as possible to replace the whole set of police officers with another set. Yet the problem is not solved. I think that what we have to begin to look at is, what is the society like? How is Kasoa, what kind of policing style do we need? Every suburb, every town, every community requires some kind of policing. Policing is a very dynamic institution that if you take the minimum policing style and go to Wild West, for instance, you will be a total failure. In the same way, if you are very successful in Kumasi and you are brought to Kasoa, you think that you are a very efficient officer in Kumasi. When you get to Kasoa, if you don't look at the local environment and reflect your policy to fit, you will be a disaster. So what I want to do is begin to look at how is Kasoa? What is actually Kasoa? Why is crime like this in Kasoa? What is the behavior of the people in Kasoa? Who are they? If you begin to understand the local situation, you can propose solutions that will actually resonate with the requirement of the people, and I'm sure that you will have what we call policing by consent. Okay. When the society begins to support you, the police, that is when you begin to succeed. Apart from that, it will be the we and them. And if it is the we and them, they have their problem, they don't come to the police. And the police try to solve it, they cannot solve it. And all of a sudden, somebody is being held accountable.
So I really appreciate this problem, and you say that policing by consent is the way to go, and by doing so you need to understand the people on the ground. Yes. The response by the police in the region for you, they are saying that they are willing to work with Joy News, to understand what we gathered, the information we gathered, and to hook them up with the other people, the people that we have spoken to, so that they can work something out and strategize and deal with that. Is this enough from a retired police officer's perspective? That should work.
If you are saying, if you are asking whether it's enough, I will say it is a good sign. Okay. It is a good sign that the police are beginning to say, oh yes, if the media is willing to help us, we will collaborate. Okay. But it's not just a matter of collaborating with media alone. Madam Abika, who is there, I know that if she's given opportunity, she will explore a lot more and bring a lot of stakeholders on board. Let's begin to think about Kasoa. You see, the truth of the matter is that Kasoa is a priority challenge. We don't have our priorities right. Kasoa is becoming an embarrassment to the security sector in this country. So if all of us agree that Kasoa is symbolic of what violent crime can do to a country, and all of us zero in on Kasoa, put in the best, understand the ground, create the relevant network, and zero in on Kasoa and look at Kasoa in 2 or 3 months. I think that I wrote a letter to the speaker about a week or two ago, and I made some very serious recommendations for Kasoa. That if you go to Kasoa and you conduct what we call threat policing research, you conduct policing research. That is just basically putting the police and academia together and conduct detailed research into Kasoa to find out what is the real problem. When you are done with that, still, please put one form police unit. And form police unit is just to provide presence. The presence of the coercive power of the state in many corners of this country is always a deterrent force. But when the state seems to be absent, at the time that criminals are having field day to operate, sometimes they think that that impunity can be protected. After all, after some time, if you are not arrested, you can go and commit crime again. So let's all begin to let's take Kasoa as a very serious problem and zero in on it, put in all the best that we can, and I'm sure that with time, with all these ideas coming up, and the police are willing to open up, we will find a lasting solution to the Kasoa menace. Okay,
Adib, let me bring you in on that. The police has said that they are willing to work with the media to get the information and to deal with it. In the meantime, the police is saying that it's not like they are overwhelmed. If you look at the information that they have, it is something, Kasoa is something that they can handle. Mr. Tobu says that it is progressive enough, the response from the police. What do you think, and do you have any suggestions as to how to deal with this in this moment?
Well, obviously, the impending collaboration between the police and multimedia is one giant step in the right direction. However, there's still a lot more work that has to be done going into the future. And from my initial assessment of the security situation in Kasoa, I have decided to divide the solutions into two. We have the immediate solutions and the remote solutions. First and foremost, I think that in the immediate term, we need more boots on the ground, not just more personnel, but more experienced, well-trained personnel. I'm saying so because there seems to be a culture of impunity festering in that area. And most of the time, when people report to the police, not much is done about it. And in the 1980s in the US, there was a theory in criminology that came up. It's called the broken glass theory. It's hinged on the fact that as minor as an offense it is for a glass to be broken, if no investigation is conducted, the next minute it will be a human being who will be broken. So as much as the police can, they should follow up on all reports that come their way, so people would be motivated to report crimes in the first place. Secondly, we need to improve intelligence in that area. You would realize that a lot of these criminals are networked. They are syndicates. So if we are able to break into it like it is done in the US with the Drug Enforcement Agency, what it means is get officers who would pretend to be engaged in the same criminal enterprise. When we are able to infiltrate, a lot of intelligence can come out of from that quarters, and that can help to a large extent in breaking a lot of these criminal networks all across around the area. And most importantly, like Honorable Peter has mentioned, policing by consent. As a matter of fact, when Sir Robert Peel founded the Metropolitan Police somewhere in the 19th century, he's the father of modern day policing. He came out with certain principles called the 9 Pillar Principles of Modern Day Policing that has served as a benchmark for best international practice so far as policing is concerned. And it's based on the fact that there needs to be collaboration between the police on one hand and the communities. You cannot have the police everywhere all the time. So citizen participation in the security management process is so important. So if we are able to engender trust, confidence, respect between the police and the citizens, they would cooperate better with the police. And trust me, the information they would give the police will help to a very large extent in uncovering a lot of these criminal activities in that area. But we also need to improve the protection for people who give information to the police. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have a robust regime in place that would protect people who give information to the police. And going into the future, the remote solutions, we need to address the human insecurities in that area. Jobs for the youth, we need to be able to make them economically viable and financially independent. We need to collaborate with other countries within the West African sub-region because Kasoa and especially Ashama have become a favorite safe haven for wanted fugitives, especially from Nigeria. They are able to come into the country and they find safe havens there. So if you are able to cooperate, so if anyone is wanted in Nigeria, the authorities in Ghana would know. If anyone is wanted in Benin, the authorities in Togo would know. When we collaborate in that fashion, I'm sure it will be able to help us to a very large extent in making sense of the general situation. But most importantly also, we need to improve the land administration system.
Right.
I know this might get people wondering, what has it to do with crime? But land administration is extremely key. And even if you look at the sustainable development goals, a lot of the goals has to do with land. When you go to countries such as Rwanda, when you are interested in a plot, all you have to do is to stand there, use GPS technology, they grant you access to the database, and you are able to tell who this land belongs to. The confusion associated with the acquisition of land documentation, it will take you 15 years before you get land title, is all what is part of the problem in Kasoa so far as crime is concerned.
It's a monster of a problem that we need to deal with, a monster with several heads, but we'll end it here, I'm sure, that subsequently. And it's interesting that you mentioned Nigeria, because now that about 1,800 convicts have broken jail in that country, a lot of people, in fact, the people that Maxwell spoke to on the ground have indicated that they suspect some of them might be finding their way towards that area already. We'll see how it goes. Thank you very much, Mr. Tobu. If you have any final words in a few seconds, I can take that briefly. It's been a while since you became MP. We haven't had an interaction. Do you?
If we want to go forward as a country, with all the recommendations that we are making, I think that the police itself should also begin to think about restructuring and reforming. What is wrong with advertising the position of a regional police commander? That you have the rank, and you should be able to do a presentation to demonstrate that you understand the region that you want to go and head, and you are proposing solutions that are workable, and gradually when you are appointed, you are held accountable for what you are going to do. At the end of the day, if you are not able to do it, you are either fired or transferred. But this issue about just putting people there because they have the rank, and you think that they can do, and if they are not doing it, then who is supposed to be held accountable? Let's reform the system to the point that people who are in command position know that they are supposed to be accountable. If you are not able to deliver, you know that you are fired. I think that is the way we should be able to go as a country.
Okay. Well, Mr. Tobu, I'm sure that as we go along, we'll be interacting with you more as you are on the Defense Committee. Thank you so much for your time. I've been talking to Peter Lanchoni Tobu. He's a member of Parliament for Wa Western, member of the Defense Committee in Parliament, also a retired police officer. So you know that he's an inside person. He understands what he's talking about. Adip Sani has studied security at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. He's a security analyst there, joining me for this conversation on Kasoa. Gentlemen, thank you once again. You're watching The Pulse. I'm Gifty and Do Apia.